Good morning and welcome to the Sports Desk, streamed live on Facebook. I'm your host, Ed Nunez, along with producer Alden Iwani. Our special guest today is Atrisco head basketball coach, also athletic director Adrian Ortega. Coach, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You know, Coach, we've known each other a long time, and we had a chance to talk the other night before we got on. And, I know you've been out at Atrisco, but you were also coach, you cut your teeth at El Dorado and Del Norte as an assistant coach. You're journeyman electrician from 94 to 98, also U.S. Army 90 to 94, a graduate of Las Vegas Robertson. I'm going to ask you about Northern New Mexico basketball in a while, because what a passion the North has for basketball up there. I had a chance to call the state tournament one time when Manuel Romero was coaching at Mora. And I still remember Coach Romero, who's at Las Vegas Robertson now, the stomping of the boot, right? The stomp, boom, boom, boom. The stomping of the boot. But Manuel and I got to be friends and we laugh about it. I'd say, Coach, it must not be a good call. I don't know what kind of stomp that was. But, Northern New Mexico loves their basketball, Coach, and you're a product of Las Vegas Robertson. But I want to talk to you a little bit about Atrisco Heritage, and you're the athletic director there. Sports, we think, you and I talked about it the other day, might be around the corner. Talk a little bit about where Atrisco Heritage is program-wise. We're about to start, hopefully, next week with fall sports. Talk a little bit about that and how the kids might be looking forward to it.
It's been a long journey. When I first got the job, we didn't have any facilities. We were operating under a tent, and I believe that was just 11 short years ago. And I will tell you, as far as the community goes, there is no harder workers, tougher kids that I've ever coached. I mean, they've just been it's been a joy. I've heard about the community being tough and the kids being tough and able to coach them hard, but actually being able to do it and see their success has just been great. And not only basketball, our boys soccer team has had a lot of success. Our dance team won state. I believe they had won state last year if we wouldn't have run into COVID. But to make a long story short, they've been real receptive, and it's just been a great surprise of the type of talent we've gotten there, and then most importantly, the work ethic and the discipline that every kid at our school has.
I'm glad you mentioned the dance team. I think sometimes we forget that the dance team, the band, they put in work too, and they miss being out there. They miss performing. It's not just about, we love the traditionals, right? We love the traditionals, but it's important that you mentioned how much did the dance team being out there, did they miss it, being out there to perform? They work very hard. People forget how hard they work. It's kind of like, they're out there, but sometimes we don't stop and appreciate all the things they do for all the teams there at Atrisco. Coach, we mentioned that. Now, supposedly sports, again, around the corner, preparation-wise. Now, it's been in pods of 5. It's been a struggle for everybody. We'll get to online learning. That's another matter altogether here in just a few minutes. Talk about Atrisco Heritage, their preparation, what the challenges have been for you as a basketball coach, for you as the athletic director over there at Atrisco Heritage.
Well, for us, we've been going at it since October. And the most challenging thing is just to keep our kids engaged and believing that we're going to play. That's really been a hard sell because, as you know, every milestone as far as starting dates have been changed, and just keeping them believing that we are going to play. Myself and my assistant coach, Daniel Abel, we've gone out to some of our places' houses, man, and knocked on their door and met with them and given them hugs. And, we got kids that are just depressed, not a large amount, but some of the kids, they don't log on and these are kids who have, A and B students the last 3 years, and all of a sudden they just drop off and can't do it because they lost hope in sports. So we've been knocking on doors, getting them re-engaged, getting them back in the gym. It's been a full-time job, but that's what we do as coaches. And a lot of people don't understand what coaches do. And that's part of the job. So our coaches have been banging on doors, keeping kids believing. And I do believe that we're going to play. So that's been the most challenging thing. When they get in the gym and in the pods, it's easy because it's familiarity for them. And they want to be in the gym and they want to work out and they want to be pushed. So even though we're in those pods, we've been really positive, actually positive to a fault, something I learned from Todd Resch at Del Norte. And when things are tough, that's when you have to be really positive. And they're engaged and they're ready to go.
Coach, I think you're echoing what about every coach that I've had on: Justin Woody, Wilson Holland, Jeremy Maupin, Will Benjamin. Kristen Scanlon from Texaco. Almost all coaches have echoed the same message. And coach, back in the day when you played for Robertson, when I played for Highland, I could go out and get a run anywhere I wanted to, man. That was the thing to go look forward to, right? Ray Rodriguez, he was 2 years older than me at Highland. We would go to Whittier and play there in our local park. And we'd close it down. We'd break into Highland on Sundays to go play ball. We didn't steal nothing. Just wanted to play ball, right? So I think all those things we take for granted that we could do, and it's hard on kids, right? So I think you doing that and letting them know you're here, and all the coaches have said this too. You see students down the hall, coach, you can tell by body language if something's wrong right away because you see them every day. And so that word from, and we said this too to every coach that's been on, not just a word from a coach Ortega, the band teacher, the history teacher, all the teachers in that school, right? They have an effect on those kids, and a positive one, the role models. And the kids missing that has led to, you mentioned the depression. It's natural, right? Because socialization means a lot to people, right? We need that human touch and that human contact, especially for people that we trust, we see every day. So again, talk a little bit about that, looking forward to coming back. What does that mean? We've been in this kind of here as far as our emotions, but now we're climbing there and maybe seeing some light at the end of the tunnel. Talk about that.
Well, I'm involved in what's called a early warning system team at Atrisco Heritage Academy, where we service not only athletes, but all students. When I say we go knock on our athletes' homes, we also do it for regular students who don't participate in anything. So I will tell you this, based on the governor's news conference a couple of weeks ago, when she just came out and surprised all of us saying that, schools can go back to hybrid, I saw a huge spark in our kids. Again, not just our basketball kids, not just our athletes, but all kids. That was just like, wow, it can happen. So there is a level of excitement. And what I fear, tomorrow's APS board meeting, I hope it goes our way. And I do hope we go to hybrid, and I do hope we get to play sports. But the thing about it is, it's not going to be the same. But the kids know that. We've explained that to them. They've practiced in mass. They've social distanced. Whatever they give us, we'll take. But there is a level of excitement at our school specifically that we do have a chance. And one of the things that our coaches do understand, as time goes by and our numbers continue to decrease, not only do we have a chance in the fall, but we have a chance for winter and spring. So it's very positive. If it doesn't go our way tomorrow, we're not going to give up. We're still going to focus on the other sports that can go. But we're just going to stay positive, and hopefully we get a shot.
Well, that's what all coaches have been saying. I want to talk to you about Atrisco Heritage and building a winner there. 3 championship appearances the last 6 years, I believe. A championship against Cleveland in 2018 and a classic against Santa Fe. Wow, one of the best championships in 2019, 61-58 victory over Santa Fe. One of the best games I saw, just back and forth. And some of the players you've had, Dominic Rivas, Isaiah Brooks, Josiah Ramos, Elijah Gaxiola, DeMarcus Sutphin, Jordan Arroyo. And, I'm sorry if I didn't mention them all. There's so many. You've had some really solid players. And even last year, you dropped a decision to Volcano Vista 53-51. One of the things that you said after you won the championship in 2018, or was it 19? And when you beat Santa Fe, you said in the press room, we're not done yet. And, I told you that the other night. I said, man, I was waiting for you to say, I guarantee we're going to win again. But, you can't do that, right? Pat Riley did that one time, and they did guarantee. It's a lot of pressure on the kids. But I know what you meant when you said that. We got a good program. We got good players. Talk a little bit about the success you've had over the past 6 years.
The old saying, look good, feel good, right? I echoed that phrase after Josiah Ramos. He said the same thing to Adam Dale on the pit floor immediately after the game. So trying to just give you a mind frame of our players. But I will tell you, what we did, or what I did when I got the job, is when I was at Sandia, a great deal of our players did not live in the Sandia district. And I think it's the same way today. We basically lived on transfers. 1 in 4 kids at Sandia High School were transfers. So when I got the Atrisco job, I knew the talent was there. We exhausted ourselves in trying to identify our kids at Atrisco, our kids that belong to go at Atrisco, who need to go to Atrisco, and good players and good academic kids. And we did that, and we were able to sell the parents that, look, this is a new school. Our academics are strong. We have discipline here. Give us a shot. And I'll, for example, Enrique Vivian was a private school kid. Jordan Arroyo was a charter school kid. Josiah Ramos, Elijah Gaxiola, Dominic Rivas, they went to LBJ. Our kids in our community were not going to our feeders, and we were losing them. So that's been our key. And second to that, once you're in our program, you're a Jaguar. And we don't sell our kids out for transfers. We don't sell our kids out for the grass is greener guys. And I may be the only coach to have enough nerve to say that publicly, but I truly believe that. I believe that when kids come over to your program from somewhere else, it's not for a good reason. Most of the time it's because of playing time, and most of the time it's because the parents are disgruntled. So, I'll win with our guys from our community. And one thing that I'm very, very proud of is since I've been there with our 2 state titles, those are community kids, and nobody can take that from us. Every kid that played for us is from the community. That's a fact, and did not transfer in past their freshman year. And another thing I'll tell you, I was at a baseball game after we won our first state title, and one of the community members, another gentleman that just goes to every game, came up to me and said, "Coach, did you know that Rio Grande and West Mesa has never won a state basketball championship ever?" And to me, I thought that was just mind-boggling. I don't know the history. I'm not from Albuquerque. I'm from Las Vegas, as you said. I've been here a long time, but just the credit that I got to give to those kids and those parents for taking a chance on Atrisco. You mentioned Dominic Rivas. His dad is probably one of the biggest Bulldogs there is. If you ever talk to his dad, he's nonstop wearing Bulldog stuff. You talk to his son, he's a Jaguar. He's playing over in Hobbs right now. He hit 15 points, hit 5 threes the other day. And, the relationships that I've been able to build with those kids is much more important than a blue trophy. DeMarcus Sudfin was in the gym the other day. And that's what it's all about. Like I said, developing those relationships and being loyal to your guys. Man, I can't stress that enough. Be loyal to your guys. They may not be as good skill-wise as other players, but be loyal, man, and see where it takes you.
Coach, that's important, right? And I think being a Jaguar, you made that, you branded that. Now, a lot of times, you're right. We see kids in the transfer portal all the time in college, right? They're not happy. They move to another school, but your message is clear. We want guys that want to be Jaguars. We want guys that, from our community. And wow, what success you've had, with the guy, man, entertaining team to watch it. As I mentioned, that final against Santa Fe 2 years ago, 15,000 in the pit, and Santa Fe hadn't been there since 78. And I remember that game in 78 when they played Albuquerque High. They beat Albuquerque High that night. And that game, again, against Santa Fe, up and down. How many three-point shots were made in that game? Both teams were really shooting the ball very well. And it came down to the last second, and you guys eked it out by 3. But when you win the blue trophy, man, but you mentioned with your guys, with your guys, how does that feel?
Well, I got to mention that previous to the first state title, we were in the championship game against Valley. And we ended up losing that. But prior to that, we were in the semifinal game with the losing record. We were in the district with Pius, Academy, Del Norte, and we started off in 4A. And we went to Grants. I believe Grants was coached by Marty Zeller, and they were the 3 seed. And we went over there and beat them in overtime. Then we beat Capital, who were the 2 seed. And this was one year removed from a 10, practicing in a 10. So, those guys, Larry Baca, Philip LaCour, Corbin Waukee, Patrick Rourke, Adrian Ortega, my son, JoJo Brooks, they kind of paved the way for our success winning state. They all come back and say, the message was, don't be satisfied. The red ain't good enough. Keep going. Coach knows what he's talking about. Just building that program and having the veteran kids come back. But to answer your question about Santa Fe, that was probably one of the wildest games I've ever been in. That group from Santa Fe can shoot it. But I do attribute a small piece of that game, leading into that game, to our success. I mentioned the game against Joe Coleman at Valley, which we lost. That was my first appearance in a final as a head coach. We had been in the semifinals, but everything to it, from getting down on the court on time, having your kids prepared, don't over talk, don't let them show you're nervous. That was a learning experience for me. And Zach Cole's a great coach. But before the game, you get a feel as a coach of where you stand. I mean, our kids were calm. They were ready. We always make it a habit to go out at 15 minutes And Santa Fe High went out there. The game was way ahead of schedule. I think they were out there with like 25 minutes. They ran out there and the crowd roared. And I had my kids in the locker room and I said, no, we're not going out for 15. We're loose. And we went out, stayed with our routine. And I believe that contributed to some of it. Now obviously you got to play the game. But when we got out there the year before, we lost to Volcano. Actually, we won state. So a lot of those kids knew what it was like. Yeah, Josiah Ramos, who had already won state. Again, Don Rivas, DeMarcus Sudfin, huge. Him talking to guys like Marquise Crawford, who had never been there. DJ, they'd never been there. And just the words they were saying, look, guys, stay calm, the whole nine. I think that we were able to match everything that Santa Fe threw us. I mean, I think we probably had, 7,000 fans for us, and there was about 15 for them.
Yeah, you know what? That was man, you're not kidding. Coach, we're going to take a break. We'll be back with Atrisco head coach Adrian Ortega after these messages on the sports desk.
I'll just get a little closer.
Oh, instead it's a gorgeous pass.
Here's what he'll
just shoot it.
He's going to go all the way.
He's gonna fire at the buzzer and he hits.
Great pass, Hadbury, and thank you very much. Heavyweight tie in the district. Inside, fly, Eagles.
Chavez uses some athleticism. And then Morris down low, able to finish. You called it, Steve, in 10 seconds. And look at this, stripped, stolen Watson. Christian Lucero beats the buzzer. Here's Ian Chavez, the sharpshooter. Got it.
Couldn't have said that any better. He answered the question. He
On
got
a
another
steal
one.
at the buzzer. Back to back for Chavez.
To the paint. Medina from the volleyball lines. Medina wants another one from deep. Oh, he wants 10. Give him 10.
Lewis finds Watson. He's going to finish. One-handed slam. Vista, but just all the different scenarios we could see potentially play out ahead of the state tournament.
Oh!
Ho, ho, ho.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walking to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Sports Network. Don't sacrifice quality and flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili, breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
Welcome back to the sports desk live on Facebook. I'm your host, Ed Nunez, along with Alden Iowani, our producer, who always does a great job. We're with Atrisco athletic director and head basketball coach, Adrian Ortega. And again, coach, there's some great stuff before we got to break about talking about the championships and the guys that talk to your guys about, going down to the pit floor, because it's a different experience for sure. But I got some quotes for you here for some people that knew you well. I did some homework on you. And this one is from Dr. Ron Maestas, 2017 New Mexico Sports Hall of Fame inductee. And he said, You're one of the finest individuals on and off the court. Excellent person, excellent coach. Also from your former head coach, Phil Schreier, who coached at Las Vegas. Robertson's a very good friend of mine. You were good enough to play on the varsity as a freshman, but he had a team that was laden with 5 seniors. He's proud of the many successes you've had as a coach, and it's obvious you maintained that passion you had as a 9th grader. Some quotes for some people that knew you up north, and I wanted to share that with you. Those are 2 good people, and they had some good things to say about you.
It's always nice to hear, man. That's really nice to hear. I was really upset and disappointed when Coach Schreier I didn't get to be coached by Coach Schreier after my freshman year, but that's awesome. That's awesome to hear. Thanks for that.
Oh yeah, you know what? Coach Maestas and I talked. He's Coach Maestas is he's a legend, man, up there, and coach. He's a teacher up there in the Mexico Highlands, and he's been an official. Still wants to officiate and give back. And at this point, he doesn't have to anymore. I wish I still could. My knees just can't do that anymore. But I tell you, I was lucky. It was a seamless transition from reffing to be a broadcaster. I'm lucky I'm still in the game. I always say that. Coach, we wanted to go back and I wanted to ask you about this. Talk a little bit about this because you're from Las Vegas, and the northern guys, man. I always say this, and I say this with respect. You guys are very proud of being from the north, man, and I say that with all due respect. Richard Tripp, I always call him the king of the north. That's a very good friend of mine, man. So talk a little bit about the passion of northern New Mexico basketball. We talked about that, and I told you I officiated some up there, but northern New Mexico is crazy about their basketball. Coach, talk a little bit about that.
Absolutely. And before we go on to that, I do want to thank Ron Maestas for those nice comments as well. He was an official when I was playing ball, and I played against his sons, and he's definitely an icon in the community, big time. But as far as northern New Mexico goes, I mean, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the East-West rivalry. I mean, those games were intense when I played. We had packed houses. We had fights in the parking lot. It was a big time deal. And not only that, we played Taos. And Taos would bring their entire city over, and we'd get after it. We'd get after St. Mike's was a huge rivalry. But the thing about it is the community, they really love their sports, and they support their sports, and they support their programs. And you have a lot of athletes who still live there and contribute to both programs. And it was definitely quite the experience, playing Española, playing even Mora. I mean, Pecos, you can't take those guys lightly. We were a bigger school than them, but talent wasn't few and far between. They came after us big time, and the gyms were packed. I wouldn't have had it any other way. We had a game against Taos my senior year. We lost in double overtime. I had 49 points, and we lost on a missed box out at the free throw line, man. And after the game was over, man, there was fights in the stands, people's uncles, Taos's uncles, just getting after it, man. I'm not saying that's the way it should be, but back then, that's how serious people took these games.
Yeah, man, I can only imagine. Again, a very passionate fan base up north, and much respect because they love their basketball. That's why state tournament time, and it was canceled last year because of the pandemic. They come pack that house, man. If their team is playing, Pecos under Coach Harge hadn't won a championship since '66, and Ira Harge Jr., now the athletic director at Española, got them four straight, man. And they were wild about their basketball in Pecos, wild about their basketball in Powhatan, right? Matt Martinez, the former great coach out there with the girls program, now the athletic director at Cleveland. So I know they're very passionate about their basketball. Coach, I want to go back and ask you some things about online learning. Now, I've talked to every coach about this, and there's been some struggles. Talk about the challenges there at Atrisco Heritage. You're an educator as well. Talk about a little bit about that, and we're moving closer, more to hybrid, more to in-person school. And of course, that's the best thing. But talk about a little bit about the challenges that Atrisco Heritage has faced out there.
Well, the thing about it, initially, it was very challenging for a lot of the educators. It was new, and it took a lot of professional development. It took a lot of individual development. And I do believe that we have some of the best teachers there are in the state at our school. And the work that those guys put in for all our kids is unmatchable. I talk to a lot of them. I sit in a lot of meetings, and they truly care about our kids. And that has to be number one. We have a saying in our program, caring plus discipline equals success. And if you don't care, and you're not disciplined, you're not have any success in anything you do. I will tell you that I believe that the kids have gotten the best that's out there, that's possibly out there. The thing that I worry about is moving into this hybrid is the learning is not going to be much different. The remote is going to be there. A teacher's virtually going to be teaching half of their students online and the other half in hybrid. So I do think there's going to be some struggles in the transition, and I do worry about that. That's why I think it's so important to decouple sports with hybrid. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure. I know that the governor's office keeps saying that schools have to open safety in order to play sports. I mean, I think it'd be the opposite. Let's play sports and see if that goes safe. Then let's see if we can bring kids back in-person learning. I think the teachers would go for that. I think administrators would go for that. And it's a smaller sample. But, you know, we control what we can control. And I do believe teachers, and I'm sure teachers across the state are being innovative because they care. You know, essentially teachers care. And that's what counts the most.
No, absolutely. You're right about that, coaches. And it's trying times for everybody, right? This is a global pandemic. I can't say that anyone has a perfect formula and says this has worked here. There's been no spread. Everything's gone 100% right. No one can say that. No one can say that. But yet everybody does want to get the kids back in school. Everybody knows how important, you mentioned that, how important the in-person learning is. And hopefully that's just around the corner. Now, I want to ask you this, Coach, coming from a basketball standpoint, I asked this to Coach Lonnie Neal of Highland. You know, it's been in pods of 4 or 5. Talk about maybe the basketball point where the spring sports are next after the fall sports. But talk about what we might be looking at, because you didn't get to develop during the summer. You didn't get to go to the camps. You didn't get to do as much weightlifting, right? Not as much player development, individual skills. Talk about what we might be looking at if basketball does go off. It might take a little while for kids to catch up, but talk a little bit about that.
I think that, and this may be a little controversial, but you'll definitely be able to see the coaches who followed the rules, and you'll be able to see the coaches who did not. If you strictly follow the pods, you know, and we followed the rules, you're going to see some pretty bad basketball in my estimation because of the things that you outlined. If your midseason form, the first week of practice, you didn't follow the rules. And I don't know if there's anything that can be done, probably not, but it's that integrity thing, right? You want to teach your kids integrity, and you want them to live their lives with integrity. So hopefully there's not too many cases like that where coaches are just flat out finding ways to cheat. But, you know, if we can make it to a game, in my opinion, it's a success, win or lose. You know, Sally Marcus always references this in our AD meetings. It's not about the blue trophy this year. It's about the things you're saying, Ed, the interactions with players, the interactions with other teams. In this day and age with social media, when I played, you know, West Las Vegas, those guys were our enemies. Those guys we battled against. We didn't communicate with those guys online. You know, obviously when we graduated, we became friends, but this day and age, these kids are friends with each other. You know, our kids like kids from Rio Grande and West Mesa and Atrisco, they like each other. You know, our kids in the district, they communicate with Cleveland. They're happy for each other when they get scholarships. It's a new era, man. So if we could just make it on the court and complete a game, I think that's a success. If we can complete a season, even more. You know, we're in the toughest district in the state, but you know what? If we can make it and compete, then that's all we need this year. As far as your question, it's probably going to be some bad basketball early.
Coach, you know what? I think expectations are different. You laid it all out along the line there because, right, just get there first. Then let's see what happens after that. Just getting everybody on the court and getting how happy with people. I just think about it for me. Not being able to play like that would kill me back today, right? I took that for granted. So I think you're right about that. Coach Adrian Ortega, athletic director of Atrisco Heritage, also head boys basketball coach. Wow, thanks so much for joining us, Coach. It was a great time.
Thanks for having me, man, and thanks for what you guys do for everybody, keeping that hook, not only for the players, but there's a lot of fans out there. You know, my dad goes to every single game, and he watches you guys on ProView when he's not at a game, and he tells me more about my opponent than I know about. So you guys keep those guys, man. You guys keep those guys interested, and you guys do a lot of good things for the community, and we appreciate that, man.
Coach, we sure appreciate it. That's from all the staff at ProView Networks. Thanks so much for that plug. For producer Alden Iwani, I'm Ed Nunez. We'll see you next week on the Sports Desk.